All right, well, welcome everyone. I am really excited to share my guest speaker with you today. This is Patti Troisi. My name is Clarke. I am the host of the Create Extraordinary Community Building events, and I think very quickly you will see why I was so excited to have Patti on this summit today. So Patti is an energetic, transformative life and alignment coach, an on-camera expert, international speaker, award-winning actress and writer with over 25 years of experience creating transformation for thousands of clients and companies across the globe. Patti's specialty is in energetics and leadership. I love that. Where she's helped others produce next-level success from personal growth and wellness to business and branding, especially in the online arena. Her mission is shifting the paradigm from, quote, a lot of doing to fearless being in order to magnetically create the extraordinary life and business you were born to create. Her belief is that leaders need to be fully expressed in order to live rich and liberated lives. She is the CEO of PT Entertainment, founder of the Aligned Advantage, Next Level Business and Branding, the content creation show, Quantum Leap into Riches, and the recurring series Magnetic on Camera. In addition to her signature Corporate Goddess Circles and Success Code download program, she consistently holds a space for full-on self-expression and creating deeper connection, growth, and ultimate team transformation. Patti's clients are high-achieving, motivated, generous, heart and soul-driven leaders who are ready for unstoppable guidance and are driven to go to the next level. Wow. Patti, welcome.
On bio. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. It's my delight to be doing this interview with you. So as I was saying just before we started this, you are the only person so far that said, oh, I'll talk on all four pillars. So that's amazing. I'm not surprised, frankly, with this, resume. You've got a wealth of experience here. So I'm just going to touch on all four of the pillars with you. So the first one is the right stage. What can you share with everybody about creating a well-crafted on-camera presence? I know this is really your wheelhouse, and particularly around revealing the it factor. What is the it factor? How would you define that? And how do you bring that out in people with their sort of on-camera work?
Wow. First of all, that's an amazing question. And it's enormous, right? Like there's so much in that question. But let's start with the it factor. Let's start with who you are before your feet hit the ground in the morning, because the biggest mistake I see people make when they are getting on camera is they're trying to do it like somebody else. And it is such a downfall and it's so unrewarding, and it just leads to burnout because you're trying to create something from the outside in rather than from the inside out. And so the work that I do is really getting in there, getting clear on who you are and your personal mythology, I call it, and really understanding like what it is that makes you stand out, not adding more, not fixing anything, because you're perfect, whole, and complete. And so let's work with the original. Like, let's work with your, do you know the story about the golden Buddha? Underneath all, do you know that story about?
I do. Yeah, share it with everyone. Yeah.
Well, you might be better at sharing the story, but the story about the golden Buddha is basically, there was this beautiful, enormous, right, Buddha made of mud and clay, if I'm correct. And then the area where, I'm going to paraphrase the whole thing, but the area where the Buddha was under distress, and they found out that they were building a highway through the area. And this is going back hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And they were building a highway through the area where this Buddha, this large, beautiful Buddha that had been worshipped for many, many years, was going to be compromised, like this where this Buddha lived. And so they had to move it. And prior to moving it, there was a rainstorm. I know I'm butchering the story.
Doing great. You're doing great.
Right, okay. And what happened was the one Buddha that was the one monk that was going in to help facilitate the move went in the evening before this whole thing was supposed to happen, and he noticed that there was a a glimmer, there was a shine. And so he started moving away the clay and the, you know, the mud and the stone, and realized underneath this enormous, gorgeous Buddha was a golden Buddha. And so, yes, I butchered that story, but here's the point. The point is, you are that. Like, inside of you is, to your core, is magic. Who you are, and if you could trust that and have the courage to show up as the truth and the authenticity of who you are, that is the golden piece. That is the vein of gold. That is what you want in everything. It doesn't matter what stage you're on, whether it's on video, whether it's on live stage, whether it's in, you know, you're in person, you're in a networking event, it doesn't matter. But that piece is essential. And getting that piece is the key to effortless success for your business and your life. Yeah.
You know, it's such a beautiful metaphor, that story. You did not butcher it at all, but it's a beautiful metaphor for, I think, particularly with women. For those of us that have had a few decades, we're a few decades in, I think we've been subjected to so much social pressures and societal mores and voices telling us we should be this and we should do that and should. We get buried, doesn't that? The gold inside is buried. So I'm guessing then it sounds like the work you do is to just help uncover anything that is not the golden Buddha, right? Just get rid of everything that is not Buddha, all the mud, all the crap that's covering it, to reveal this beautiful, glimmering core inside. You must experience, when you're working with clients and you get to that, really that sort of it factor, that deep sort of core place for them, they must really feel just transformed. Do you find that with your clients?
Yeah, I think the hazard here is going from sort of talking about this in an ethereal sort of way, because this is not a process for the faint of heart, right? Nor are women faint of heart. Like, women, female energy is powerful, and the societal implication is that the feminine is weak. And so we've, instead of talking about, you know, not you, but in general, talking about, like, let's unburden ourselves from that. And it's sort of like when you get on social media, it seems like an easy sort of process. It is not in any way, shape, or form easy, but it is, the payoffs are so enormous. And especially if we're speaking to a midlife, you know, an older, wiser generation of women who've seen and experienced such profound life. I mean, it's time to unleash the beast, you know. It may be beautiful, but it may be freaking ugly at times, and it may feel really uncomfortable, but it is required. It is required for pure, unadulterated ecstasy in your experience of life and business. It's like the next level. We're there. Like, we're not pretending anymore. We know energetics are required. We know we've had the experiences, and now it's time, let's just say, to unleash this beast. And it's magic, you know. That's a lot there. Yeah.
No, I love it. And specifically this your point around energetics, because I just don't think there's any way that a person, a coach, an entrepreneur, a leader could take whatever stage it is that she or he is choosing, whether it's an online forum, whether it's some sort of face-to-face kind of arena. The authenticity, if it's not there, I just think the connection, the ability to connect with people is compromised, you know, unless that authentic self comes out, you know, the beast, if you want to call it, or, you know, any other term. It's just, it's all about connecting. It's all about relationships. And if you're trying to take on someone else's persona,
right,
your ability to connect on a really deep, heartfelt level is just not there.
It's simply not there. And our audience is intelligent, just the same way that you're watching this. You're picking up energetically on all the nuances of this conversation. And so you're highly intelligent, you're highly successful, and it's insulting for, I find, for somebody to put themselves in front of an audience and then pretend to understand something or have the knowledge of something when they're not coming from the true deep authenticity and experience of that. That doesn't mean that you have to get it perfect. It just means that you have to be authentic in the process of discovery in front of your audience, and be willing and courageous to be vulnerable and not get it perfect, because that will let your audience be really able to relate to you on a human level. It's so simple, the process of connecting, yet it takes such a brave soul to really show up and to be there and be present.
Yeah. Oh, I could not have said it better. I love that. So, all right. So we've talked a little bit about the right stage, and then the next pillar is the right tribe. In your extensive experience, obviously you've had this wealth of experience in your career. What would be the best and easiest way, in your view, for someone that's sort of considering, this for the first time, perhaps? What's the best way to start attracting the right tribe? So we're not just talking about gathering an audience of people, not just an audience, but the audience, your audience, my audience, people that see us and hear us, people that we see and hear and value. There's the connection there. So what would you say is the best sort of way to go about that, finding the tribe?
Yeah, finding the tribe. Can I just say one more piece on the stages?
Yeah.
Only because I feel like I left this piece out and I think it's really important, which is the stage that you belong on is the one in your heart you feel you belong on. Like, just because everybody is getting on live stages doesn't mean that's necessarily for you. And just because you may be afraid to get on video doesn't mean that's not necessarily for you, right? So you really have to spend the time and sit on your meditation pillow, get quiet, and really reflect on what is the vision that you have, and what is it that's going to get you to there. Which stage will allow you the visibility and the flexibility and the impact that you get to make. So, because a lot of people who are on stages in person aren't always able to get on camera as effectively. And then you can get support in doing that, but just like sorry, there was like speaking from something electronic in my house just now. But just be honest with yourself, and don't let the fear get in the way of actually getting on the stage that you need to be on. Okay. Now, as far as audience goes, this is tricky, because if you are, okay, so say hypothetically you're up to comparativitis and you're looking at somebody else and you want to emulate that speaker, coach, motivator, and you're going from the outside in and you're creating that for, just bear with me because there's a lot of pieces to put together here to answer this question. So if you're putting all those pieces together and you're coming from the outside in, I would say use caution, right? Because I only because I've done this, I have created audiences that weren't my buyers. Why? Because I was trying to do something that wasn't authentic to me. It wasn't true to me. So essentially, I wasn't leading with energetics. I wasn't leading with who I am, like really to the core. I'm highly spiritual. I believe in the universe having my back. I tap in multiple times throughout my day. When you're attracting your dream clients, just imagine your day with them. What does that look like? That's who you need to be in order to attract them. You know that saying, like, if you want a friend, be a friend, right? If you want leading, hard-hitting, motivated, generous, beautiful, like creative clients, you need to be that. And then you attract that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds simple and straightforward. Maybe not as simple as it sounds, but I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. This is so obviously what I'm hearing is the theme of authenticity is going to weave its way throughout this, because it really is so, just critically important to the whole sort of all four stages of the community building process. So the third pillar, the engagement pillar, again, you shine with this one. It includes having powerful messaging and I know that you've got a body of work with this as well. You talk about eliminating the competition in your messaging. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit into that. What do you mean by eliminating the competition, and how does that work? What does that mean? What's the outcome of doing that?
Yeah. So I talked about like the number one downfall with being on camera that people make, which is like trying to do it like somebody else. The number one key, I believe, in connecting with your audience, especially when you're on camera, is to talk to that one person that needs to hear what it is that you are offering. Know what they need, speak directly to them, and make sure they know that you have their back. And that is where the magic happens. And that comes from, and not to brag, and that's only a woman would say that, by the way. And I'm healing from that myself. But the extent of the knowledge I have here is from, let's pull it from one of the pillars of my work, which is as an actress and a storyteller and a person who, one of my truest essences is connection with humans, right? And storytelling and embodying message. When you go from a wide shot on camera, I can use this analogy. When you go from a wide shot, we're getting a general idea of what is being spoken about. So when you're speaking on camera, that would be, hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm so glad we could all be here together. This is going to be an amazing event, right? And that's a wide shot, right? That's energetically a wide shot. When we go into a medium shot and a single, where it's just like me and you, I'm going to get a little deeper. Do you notice my body language changed? I'm like, now I'm talking to fewer people energetically. I'm pulling it in. It's almost like we're narrowing in. Can you feel the energy of that? It's palpable, right? Like you can feel that. Now I'm going to go in and do a close up, and I am going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you, the person who may not believe that your essence and who you are is enough to be magnetic to go 6, 7 figures and beyond. You're the person I'm talking to, because I know your heart. I know you're scared, and I know you're out of your comfort zone here. Okay. So I'm going to pull back and just ask you, what was that experience like?
It was incredible. And it's such a subtle thing. Just subtle movements, your eye contact, definitely your energy shifts a little bit, but it's not really obvious. It's very, very subtle, but very powerful. Very powerful.
That's the thing. It's like unless we get quiet and unless we get clear on who we really are, we don't have access to that. But it's the very thing that takes us to movie theaters. It's the very thing that allows us to sign up with coaches, because you feel human. And when you're in that space, 99.99% of the time, I, like right now, feel like tears coming to my eyes, because we just so desperately need more of that connection. So the engagement is there, my friends. It's right there. It's that sweet spot. And there's a lot of pieces to getting there. But once you have it, I remember early on in my 20s, I was in an acting class, and I remember the moment I was working with a script. Oh, it was called the something anthologies, and they were monologues written by people who had passed. And I remember picking up the monologue, and I had it memorized. And this was really, really early on in my career. We're talking over 25 years ago. And it was like in a little dumpy theater in New York, like in Hell's Kitchen, it was called at the time. I think it might still be called that. And I remember my teacher coaching me as I was on stage. And I remember the conversation in my head. And the conversation was this: it's too painful for me not to go there now. I've done too much work I've seen so much in my life, and I'm talking to you right now, the entrepreneur, business owner, coach, right? You've done so much, you've seen so much, you know so much, you're so wise. It's too painful to not go there, to not show who you are. And when you're willing and you take that step, and it might feel like a leap, but it really is just a millimeter, right? It's just that one step. When you take that step, there's no going back, because once you know what that feels like, it's addictive. It's like,
Yeah.
you've got to go there. You've got to share that way. And you can't go back, because you're unpacking, you're sharing who you are. Oh, I wanted to share a quote today. This is perfect. Okay, you guys, I'm really hooked on Alan Watts right now. Like, I don't know if you know who he is. He's like this philosopher. Yeah, he's so incredible. And during the summertime, I've been like having some downtime to really like fill my well, like really just be creative. And okay, he was responding to somebody talking about darkness and avoiding the darkness. And we talked about unleashing the beast, right? You're a beast, right? You're an amazing goddess, like she's so fierce. Okay. And so he said in response to avoiding the darkness, he said, well, that's a stupid idea. And my ears perked, and I want your ears to perk, right? Because I remember when my daughter was little, she's like, somebody used the S word. I never use that word, but I agree with him here. He said, avoiding the darkness is a stupid idea. And then he went on to say, to be a human being, you have to allow the light, but you also must trust yourself to the darkness. Let yourself go into the faith that you will arrive back all in one piece. Okay, so trust yourself enough that when you go into the darkness, whatever the darkness is, the depth of who you are in what you're generating right now, you wouldn't be here, right? Listening to this, if you didn't believe in your heart and soul, like your soul is calling you. But let yourself believe that with your faith, that when you come back, you will be all in one piece. But I'm telling you, having gone through this, like going right now, coming through a tunnel of lots of loss over the past year and a half, and the world's like been through so much, I know, but on a personal level, but coming through that, in the chrysalis, it's messy. When you go deep, it's messy. It's not what you expect. Trust yourself, have faith enough that you're going to show up not only all in one piece, but extraordinary, like just extraordinary. Yeah.
I love that Alan Watts quote. I listen to a lot of his stuff. Two things that jump out of what you've just said, and that I'm glad I'm recording this, because I'll be coming back and watching it again myself. I really loved when you said, when you're speaking to someone, we're talking to the coaches out there, when you're considering your platform and your message and the engagement.
Yeah.
Think about speaking to one person. Think about speaking to the ideal client. That ideal client, she or he crystal clear in your mind. You can see her, you've given her a name, you know what her issues are, you know what her loves are, you know what she values. That's the person you're talking to every time, whether you're writing a message, whether you're speaking on camera, whatever the stage you're using. That is such a powerful tip. I mean, it seems like a little thing, but it's huge, isn't it? It's huge.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to really underscore with what you said is, and just thank you so much for doing this, because there's so much wisdom from you. I love it.
My gosh.
But the other thing that I really felt was this idea that, it can be messy. It can be messy, and there will be a lot of perfectionists among us. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself.
Yeah.
We have high standards. I mean, I think it's why we do these things, because we're looking for excellence, in ourselves and in others as well. But perfection is not a state that can really truly be achieved. And in fact, the messy bits are the parts, as you said, you touched on this earlier, those are actually the times when we can get a greater connection with our audience, or with that one client, or that small group of clients, or this person here, or those people over there. because it does show us as human. It's not, we're all, we are all flawed in some level. We all make mistakes. We all trip and fall sometimes. That's not what's important. What's important is how we brush ourselves off, get back up, stand up, square our shoulders, and carry on with it, right? So I think that a lot of people, when they're thinking about whether it's the level of engagement to try and strike the right tone there, whether it's the stage to use on camera, in person, there can be a lot of sort of fear and anxiety. Okay, so just feel it and go and do the thing anyway, right? Just do the thing anyway, because there are people out there, and we talk about engagement. If you're not out there using your own zone of genius, sharing your magic with everyone, you are holding someone else back from his or her transformation as well. So your gifts, your talents are needed. Yours are, mine are, everybody on this, interview, everyone has gifts to give. And if you're not just out there giving them, it's a disservice, right? It's such a disservice. So who cares about the stumbles? Who cares about the imperfections? You're doing it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Wow, that was really well said. I agree. You're doing it. That's the key. And it's required now. It's not just a great idea. It's required. When you talked about that one person that we're speaking to, I know her so well. She is intelligent. She's experienced. She is a leader. She is emulating and inspiring communities, like every community she's in, and she's scared. She's scared to be herself. Why? Because society has said that the strength of a woman, or like, it can't be messy, but think about the success of like a mom, like a mama bear or a lion, she's gonna roar at her baby to keep the baby, the cub, where it needs to be, keep the cub safe. The world needs you to show up. Like, stop hiding out. Stop thinking that people are going to find their way to you if you're not standing out, if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not taking risks, if you're trying to do it perfect, people can't relate to you. So just start showing up on a new level. The world requires this. The world requires not only your business to succeed, but it requires philanthropy. It requires like you to be able to step in and make those huge donations and support those communities. And that's what you're made of. This is what you're made of. Like, I know this. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the fourth pillar, which is the monetization strategy. And I'm curious to know, what would you say, in your experience, is the number one thing that will hold people back from their greatest abundance?
I love this question so much, and I'm so glad like we're moving in a timely manner and we're able to do this. Okay, so by the way, when we say we're pausing to fill space. So because I've just demonstrated, I've done that a number of times. What we get to do is just like, I'm all excited, so I'm like umming all over the place. So what we get to do is just take a breath. Just take a breath. When you feel the coming on, just get grounded. Okay. This is exciting. So first off, monetization, like next level monetization, bringing in revenue, the 6, the 7 beyond figures happens with a re-establishing, calibration of your relationship to wealth. There's no easy way to do this. I know, because I've done it. You need to excavate the beliefs you have around wealth, if wealth is not flowing in your life, because it's there. It is readily available to you. And when you reestablish that relationship, which is so eye-opening and fulfilling and satisfying, when you do that, everyone in your life gets to experience wealth. It is just phenomenal the way it happens. You get to live a richer life, not body, mind, and spirit, but everyone in your communities, because you start elevating, your frequency raises, you're attracting in a whole new way. And it comes with abandoning this old way of being. And that's where like true leadership comes in. Secondly, along with that, I'm not going to say once you finish that, you do this. I would say along with that, because it could be a longer process than you expect, but you could get quicker results. Just start that process if you haven't. And I think because you're here, you have. So secondly, you have to ask, you have to put your hand out and make offers. If you're not making offers, nobody can sign up and work with you. So it doesn't matter how many videos you're making. It doesn't matter how many programs you're running. If you're not making offers, people cannot work with you. So I would say those are the top two pieces to this number 4.
Yeah. And I think this is probably for a lot of people, probably the two that are the most challenging is finding the right stage, overcoming the fears about showing up on some platform. And the second is the one's relationship with wealth and with money. And I think for most of us, myself included in this, our experiences as children, usually around the ages of 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere in there, we've had some experience, whether we've overheard something in the conversation or a parent or guardian has said something to us, or we observed something, we develop our idea about what money and wealth means that early. And what tends to happen is we make a decision about it at that time in order to, we think, protect ourselves. And then that 3-year-old, 4-year-old self carries the decision sometimes for the rest of one's life. And unless we do a little bit of work on that and unpack it, and I mean, again, I include myself in this. I know when I was little, I had an experience. Someone said something to me, and I decided what wealth meant at that time. And at 3 or 4 or 5 years old, we don't have the capacity to really say, oh, well, that's really just that person's stuff. I don't have to attach to that. That's that person's stuff. We cannot possibly do that. In our immature little world, we make a decision about what it means, and we kind of hang on to that. And sometimes the grip is so tight, the knuckles are white throughout, the next however many decades. It doesn't mean that it's not something that can't be overcome. It's just that it's a developing awareness. Oh, okay, I recognize my 4-year-old self showing up in this conversation right now. And so I don't have to take that on. I can reassure her, it's okay, I've got this, right? I'm in charge. You can just go out and play again. It's fine. We're going to be fine. Money is just energy, right? Like you've talked about energy in every one of the pillars that we've talked about already. And this one is no different. Money's just energy, and it's a beautiful energy because it flows to us and through us to others. And I love that you said that when each of us creates some abundance, then we can be generous with others too. And that's exactly what happens, especially with women. Studies have shown when women in developing countries, particularly, we see this, when women are given an opportunity to create some even a small scale wealth, the first thing they do, they take care of their family, and then they start looking at their community. Yeah. And it's just this beautiful thing we do. So, you've said it so perfectly. And I think, we've just got to, link arms together and support one another and just get out there and share the message and start creating wealth. Because when we have the wealth, we can do so much more. We can impact so many more people. We can do so much good, whether it's philanthropy, whether it's just expanding our coaching practice. I love that. I just absolutely love it.
I love working with you as well. This is an example, by the way, of collaborating on a platform and just sort of the feminine energy coming together and just sort of creating such beautiful results here, right? Being able to be holograms in your house or your office and like convey a message that hopefully is motivating you into action and you into believing like the core of who you are, that golden Buddha. And I would say, like, you were referencing the young girl and the story of at an age of 3, 4, sometimes even 7 seems like a common age. In the work that I've done, it's like, I forget what we call that exercise. I think it's called shattering the memory or something like that. And so I know the exercise well, and it's there's again. It's powerful to go back in a facilitated exercise and actually reject what it is that's been given to you that was never yours to begin with. That is an extremely powerful experience. The work that I've done in cranial sacral work and myofascial release, biosonics, and energetics, that work is extraordinary in releasing that energy from energetic body and also physical body. I could talk about that for an hour, but I've literally worked on people and smelled cigarette smoke in their presence, and they're like, I stopped smoking 20 years ago, and it's still coming out of their tissues. So do not underestimate the story that you've had lodged in your energetics or your myofascial tissue, which, by the way, they're starting to really believe that's where the Akashic records live, in the myofascial tissue, actually in the cerebral spinal fluid that's dispersed through the myofascial tissue. So that's just a little piece of the power of that. And it's essential for you to get it, just move through it, because it's so powerful when you do. And I lost my train of thought. I was going to talk more about, there's another piece to what you were just mentioning, the collaboration, the showing up, I know what it is. It's funny that I got hung up on that. Let yourself pause, you guys. You see that pause? Nothing was lost. You just journeyed with us in trying to remember the moment, but nothing was lost. It just becomes more magical. Okay. So just remember that. I learned that as an actor on set, because you don't always remember your line, but you do remember what your character is up to. And right now, my character is up to sharing love and igniting you. So this is the moment. If you don't believe wealth is for you, like next level wealth, just like journey with us for a second, right? Let's just journey for a second. You could take your credit card right now and go to the best restaurant in your city, get all dressed up, go to the best restaurant in your city, sit down and have dinner. Let's take it even further. You could order the best bottle of wine on their menu. You actually could, let's just fantasize for a second, take a credit card or find a way. I bet if it was push came to shove and you needed to do this, you could find a way to ride first class to somewhere in the world. Think about that. Like, does that give you like goosebumps at all? Does it get you excited? Because that's the energy of wealth. You really could do that. Most likely you could do that. You might have a big bill to pay at the end, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the frequency of success. We're talking about the frequency of what's possible, because that frequency and that vision is what will draw that to you.
Yeah.
So remember to spend some time every day on your meditation pillow in that vision. And I think that's number 5, right? Weren't we going to talk about what did we get to? No.
Yeah, I haven't got to the last question that I had, which was just generally about creating community. But what I love about what you're talking about just there, again, it's all these energetics. But getting dressed up, going to a really nice restaurant, ordering the most expensive meal on the menu, if it's something that our audience has never done. Another way of thinking about that is a pattern interrupt. So we do get very stuck in our ways of doing things. We're very habitual people. So I would just, for example, challenge everyone to think about when you have a bath or shower in the morning or the evening, whenever you have it, and you get out and you grab your towel, you probably dry off in exactly the same pattern every time. Start with your left arm maybe, and then, right, it's going to be the same pattern. We're just creatures of habit. So doing something like that exercise you talked about, that little challenge, it's a pattern interrupt. It takes us out of our habitual ways of doing things, makes us more present. I bet anyone that goes to a beautiful fancy restaurant, they're all dressed up and they're looking to order the most expensive bottle on the menu, is going to be very present in that moment, right? And as long as the energy around that is really high vibe, there's no guilt or resentment or any of those kinds of negative feelings. It's just like, I'm going to fully enjoy this. This is what wealth feels like. This is what abundance feels like. I'm taking it in, because when we generate that kind of energy, it just begets more of that kind of energy. We're signaling to the universe that we're available for this. We're open for this. So it's just interrupting our habitual ways of doing and thinking to create a different result. Because we've
I
all heard,
love
you
what
know,
you just said. And I want to also say that I'm not telling you to take your credit card and go like get on a first class, buy a first class ticket if it's going to put you in the hole. Like, but you could, in your imagination, go on a plane and get in first class. Like you could create that in your imagination and change your vibration that way. And so even that would be a pattern interrupt, just imagining yourself in that situation. And that's the way of beingness that allows for more abundance and more manifesting of those things that you do want in your life. Right? Yeah. I could talk about that. We could talk about that, right?
oh, no question, no question. I mean, I've suggested to a client, actually probably more than one client, to go and test drive luxury cars. I mean, she was really struggling with the idea of deserving, that she just didn't feel like she deserved it. Say, okay, your assignment this weekend, you're going to go and test drive 3 luxury cars.
Yes.
Pick a Porsche, pick a whatever you want, but go and drive that. And when you're doing it, you're going to envision yourself actually owning this car. You're in the driver's seat, you're driving, feel what it feels like, smell the leather, touch the dashboard, like really get into it. And, so they're little things that didn't cost any money for her to do that. I can remember when I was young, a friend of mine and I used to go to there was this really fancy women's dress shop, and we'd take the bus and we'd go in and we'd try things on. We said that we had a fancy thing to go to. We just try on all these beautiful dresses with sparkles on them. And we had so much fun. We did not have the intention of buying them, but it was just the feeling of trying it on. And what kind of person am I who would wear this? It was so much fun. Yeah.
And you could leave, like when you're leaving, if you were to do that exercise, the worthy exercise, when you're leaving and the salesperson asks, are you going to purchase? You could say, well, not today.
Yeah. Which is truthful.
Not today, but it could be, as long as it's like in your future, like you imagining your future with this worthiness, with this value, so that was really fun to talk about.
It was.
I love doing these exercises.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just, I mean, the time has slipped by so quickly. I'm not surprised, but we could go on for a long time. So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, if you have even just like 2 tips, so now we'll consider community building as a whole. If you have any suggestions or guidance for our viewers today, what sort of two nuggets could you leave them with, little gold nuggets connected to that Buddha, that we could leave them with?
I find that this is a powerful thing that I lay over everything I do in my life and my business, which is this, I call it the AVA technique. It's AVA, which is easy to remember. It's first, we start with alignment. So align to your greater source, get on your meditation mat, whatever that is to you, go for a walk, go for a run, get on a sailboat, whatever that is, go for a ride. Just be with you and align to a greater source, align to what it is that sees out from your eyes, so that you could get very, very clear from that space on your vision, which is the V. Know your vision, because your vision is what calls you forward. And it allows you, your vision is the container. It allows you to feel present in the moment, because you have this trust and this faith that you're headed somewhere and it's extraordinary. And that vision comes from something so much bigger than just your head, right? It comes from your heart and head connection and your gut. And that comes from alignment. That comes from sitting quietly and like really tuning into your soul message. And then the last piece, and this is essential, is inspired action. Make sure that action that you're taking is coming from inspiration. So if you're inspired at this moment to get on camera and really make it count, really land your message, really show up authentically, really hit it out of the park, then take action on that. And don't wait. Don't wait, because motivation is fleeting. So really be an inspired action and take those steps, because one tiny step could literally change the trajectory of your life. So that would be that.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Patti. And thank you for coming on and sharing. You've been so generous with your knowledge, your wisdom. I've just absolutely loved this. I think everybody can see why I think you're just such a dynamo. It's lovely. Just one final piece, if you want to share with everyone your gift for our viewers today.
Absolutely. I would love to have you guys come in and work with me. And so I've created a free workshop. It's an intensive on being magnetic on camera. And so we'll go through some really important steps to take and implement, even if you are making videos, that will really create you as a standout and really bring out your it factors. So I invite you guys to join in, and I'm going to give you the link to that so they could just jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be there. So, oh, thank you, Patti. That is wonderful. And thank you again. I've absolutely loved this. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.